Okay, hello everyone. We are playing the Pauper challenge. I just mulliganed to 6 and kept a slightly sketchy one, but I guess it's better than going to 5. I'm playing RW Monarch, which I believe to be one of the best decks, also a deck that I'm very familiar with and comfortable with. I'll be uploading the deck list in a second to the Stream Decker so you can check out my exact deck choice. We have Mountain on top of our deck, so the hand isn't nearly as bad as it looks right now. And we are facing Burn with a Rift Bolt suspended, which is the one matchup that I actually made my deck worse against. I just cut all the Radiant Fountains from the deck because I believe mana consistency is much more important than the marginal life gain that it offers, and I lost a lot of matchups to getting mana screwed by having the colorless source. Basically, you always need the Prophetic Prism to make up for the mana screw that you're putting on yourself, your Goblin Master. And yeah, I wanted to have a more consistent deck, but obviously it makes the Burn matchup worse if you have less sources of life gain. Though I do still have some Lone Missionaries to compensate a little bit for it. Though probably with this version, if you really want to respect Burn, you have to run some Circle of Protection Red. I was kind of hoping to dodge the Burn matchup a bit. Yay! Welcome back to number 1. And usually Firebrand Archers is like a welcome sight because it turns your removal spells back on, but currently my hand doesn't really have a lot going in that way, and now it could actually be one of the most scary cards because it's going to deal at least 2 damage by attacking me and then about 2 or 3 more damage by burning me out. So now it's actually the scariest card to see, and I'm feeling very bad about my chances in this game. Actually, this window should be... yeah, this is better. Now you're not missing out on anything. I do have an Electric Tree in my main deck to be prepared for both the Delver and the Elves matchup, which would be insanely good here. Though does not seem like I'll be able to find it here. That probably means I have to Prismatic Strands and prevent at least the combat damage, and then my Battle Screech can offer me a way to flashback the Prismatic Strands by tapping the tokens. That might buy me some time. My opponent is mana screwed though, that's slightly scary, seeing as that means they... okay, this is perfect for me. That means I get to prevent 5 additional damage, like in addition to the combat damage that I would have prevented anyways, because the Lava Spike, these triggers, and the combat damage is all prevented. Basically couldn't have asked for a better turn of events here, and that does improve my chances quite a bit, having gotten 1 card out of my opponent's hand for free. Also, they seem to not have an instant to respond to this, and potentially they have some needle drops stuck in their hand that they are unable to cast, so second Prismatic Strands also quite a welcome sight. Let's get these onto the board. 3 mana gain 5. No, it was 3 mana gain 9. 3 mana gain 9 because I prevented 5 from the Lava Spike, the triggers, and then 4 combat damage. So pretty insane. Pretty insane value. And now I have a 0 mana gain some amount. Probably gain another 5 for 0 mana. And no card. Yeah, that's what I said. It was basically... if I could have asked for a turn from my opponent, that was basically it. Healing Staff. Yeah, it was more like Angel's Mercy or something, or Heroes Reunion. Something pretty... I do have to deal with their creatures at some point. It's true that just gaining life isn't really getting me anywhere. But my deck is full of... what? This does not seem good for my opponent. they have not been playing this particularly great. So yeah, it's probably worth it to keep my 2 birds. I could also just make the trade and keep my prismatic strands in the graveyard, but then I don't have any more creatures to flash it back with, so I think holding on to some amount of creatures is still worth it. Yeah, I did cast, and I cast a Plague Wind now. I ate 2 creatures. No. Right on time, Electricry, right on time. Also another white creature would be great so that I can start flashing this back. Probably still have to keep Prismatic Strands open and start getting in. Not sure if I want one of these untapped. Probably with my opponent being this constrained on mana, it's fine to tap both of them. That doesn't allow me to flash back Prismatic Strands, but I'm still at a pretty healthy life total. Yeah, I enjoy this deck quite a bit. Yeah. Especially once you get to like start drawing a bunch of extra cards with your draw engine, like Core, Skyfisher, back these Prophetic Prisons. This matchup isn't really suited towards that. You are getting killed pretty quickly, so you get to do less sweet things, but definitely this deck is awesome and one of my favorite Pauper decks, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Flashback is just one of the best card advantage engines in Pauper, and you have so many small white creatures lying around anyways that both of these are like very easy to fit in a turn and just offer you free card advantage and free tempo advantage. So flashback with like flashback for 0 mana is just such an insane mechanic. And these tapped lands can kinda keep me out of range of my opponent's burn a little bit also, but they do still have 4 spells in their hand and they're dealing 2 damage a turn to me, so I do want to close out this game, mostly looking for another white creature here. Yeah, Galvanic Blast is almost always active, for sure. And then you have like an instant speed Flame Slash to deal with 4 toughness creatures, and you have so much burn potential to close out the game. If you ever get like a few flyers going, then suddenly you have like 11 points of burn in your hand with double Galvanic Blast, Lightning Bolt or something. Okay, let's not have this. Once again, preventing 4 damage here. And I can start flashing it back, still looking for that white creature to make like 2 birds and then use the birds to Prismatic Strands, and that should work out great for me. Also hoping for my opponent to draw a target for this Electricry, which they only have 2 left in the deck. Or find a Lightning Bolt or Galvanic Blast to deal with this Thermal Alchemist to reduce the persistent damage output. Yeah, for Delvers, very Miscreant, that is the one important matchup, and then Elves is actually a very heavily played deck, and they have like 20 1-toughness creatures, and their mana generation heavily relies on having 1-toughness creatures. They have Priest of Titania, and a bunch of Lenoir Elves, of course, and then Well-Wisher and Essence Warden, just a million creatures that are 1-toughness, and they are also creating tokens, so in that matchup this card is also very good. Okay, we got rid of their persistent damage here. I think I still want to be getting in. Keeping this back just to be able to flash back Prismatic Strands on 13 life seems a little passive. I would rather use Prismatic Strands with one of the creatures that is summoning sick. Though, if they go like land Searing Blaze here or something, I would be pretty sad about it. Okay, I am able to copy this for like 3 damage at my opponent, which is pretty nice because they don't have the mana open to copy it back at me. So they are basically like casting a small flame rift where both players lose 3 life instead of both players losing 4 life. That was pretty nice of them. Still in a dangerous spot against 4 spells in their hand, and I have a pretty slow clock. If I find a white creature in the next 1 or 2 draw steps, I should be fine. If I don't, I might just get burned out before these birds can close out the game. Yeah, but I don't think I want to, like, me losing 6 and them losing 6 might be too dangerous. Yeah, not in a great spot here. Not in a great spot. If this electric tree was like anything else, would be doing much better. If these were radiant fountains, I would have also been doing much better. But as I said, I made this matchup worse to make my overall consistency better. And we're still holding on in this matchup here. Please be a creature. And not like for 1. Sure. Okay, so they still have 4 spells in their hand. And I'm still at a dangerous life total. Now I can't even flash back the Better Screech anymore with top decking any white creature, though I could like cantrip white creature into white creature here because many of them replace themselves. Okay, failed to do that. So now I have Prismatic Strands open, and my opponent is at a virtual 5 life. So Galvanic Blast here would still close out the game, and I think I can win the race with that. Oh yeah, I can, that's true. I can copy and then let them shoot it back and then prevent. That's true. Though then my Prismatic Strands is only preventing 3 damage, which it's basically always going to do. Sure. If they have like another bolt plus Fire Blast, I can't really do much about it. I'm only at virtual 6 life here anyways, so even double bolt kills me. There's no point in waiting for a Fire Blast. Come on, Galvanic Blast. Interesting. So I can either draw an extra card or gain 1 life. It's probably better to draw an extra card. There's a bunch of wins in my deck. Lightning Bolts and Galvanic Blasts win. Prismatic Strands should win. Okay, so it ended up being the same, though now I'm not optimistic about my chances. Basically need their hand to be like all Searing Blazes and Magma Jets or something. Yeah, exactly. Bolts and Blasts would have allowed me to win. Now this looks like now the Searing Blazes are going to kill me in addition to like a 1 mana burn spell or a Fire Blast. They finally found their land. Yeah, and this targets player and creature, so I can't even prevent it by bolting my own creature. That's very unfortunate. So, I mean, they bricked for a long time, but I also bricked pretty hard. Drew 10 lands to their 3. Bolt own face, no. God damn it, that was pretty close. And so I think these are coming in. These are pretty awkward. Usually they force my opponent to target their burn spells on my creature instead of my face, but they're pretty weak against Searing Blaze. The Electricity can probably come out. I already have enough bolt effects to deal with Firebrand Archers. And probably take like one of these journeys out. Probably these help deal with like the curse, but curse is like pretty low on the list of cards I'm concerned with. Probably better than journey though, just so that I have more pressure also. It's like another creature that allows me to beat down and close out the game quickly. Sure, not so happy about my matchup here. Yeah, I like Mox Monkey quite a bit, though this art works much better. This new one looks pretty weird. But yeah, great card. Yeah, probably need Circle of Protection Red if I'm cutting Radiant Fountains, or just accept that this matchup is bad and focus on winning other matchups, which is what I did. Just got punished by facing this matchup round 1. We still have a reasonable chance of winning though, as we could see this looks like a mulligan. The game was still very close, even though my draw was quite subpar. Like I mulliganed and I flooded out badly, and there was one Galvanic Blast or Lightning Bolt away from just winning, as well as drawing a white creature a little earlier to MTG bot that. That would be bad. Stream Decker bot. MTG bot seems to be working. Bolt Blast, yeah. I don't think that's the game plan. I can try to pretend that I'm a burn deck and just raise my opponent's burn, but this hand looks a lot better. Lone Missionary into Prismatic Strands. This is basically like a 2-1 that draws me a card because it requires one more burn spell from my opponent. So, and I have a bunch of these types of effects in my deck. If I find like a core Skyfisher, I can bounce the Lone Missionary unless my opponent kills it right away. Though I assume this is the primary target for Searing Blazes, if my opponent has access to that. Once again, I would really hope for my opponent to find a creature so that these two cards can interact with something favorably. Though they might also help me in racing my opponent if my board sticks around. If they have a non-interactive draw filled with lava spikes and needle drops, yeah. It got a lot cheaper. It used to be like one of the most expensive cards in the format, but yeah, Glinthawk was in multiple decks, I think, but also in the, what was it called? Tempered Steel deck, right? The Searing, what the hell? The Searing Blaze by Thraben Inspector, that makes no sense. I mean, no, I don't understand. Like, it's not only the worst creature on the board as a 1/2 instead of a 2/1, but also the effect when it comes back into play is like worse. If I'm bouncing this and recasting it, that is likely going to be more of an issue from my opponent than recasting this. The only upside of the Thraben Inspector is that it fits into a turn better, where I play Core Skyfisher, return it, and then recast it right away. Okay, let's get rid of the skull. Get out of here. Though likely this is still going to get bolted now or something. They just took like 1 extra damage from that if they go for that line. No, they're bolting my face. Okay, they really don't respect this lone missionary, which I think is likely incorrect. That opens them up to a lot of blowouts with core Skyfisher returning this to hand. Yeah, exactly. They really have to have an explosive hand here for me to not be in time to recast it. Without an untapped land, it will take me a turn, but I'm still at 12, so... Yeah, but like, even as a 2-1, it's still better than a 1-2, right? I don't get it. Land off the top would be great. Well, should have been more specific, but it's still pretty great. Have to decide whether I want to cycle now, because I can like float white mana here, then bounce it, then cycle, then I'm at 4. Probably I want to go up to 5 more than I want to stay at 4. Yeah, so that I can cast Prismatic Strands and Lone Missionary in the same turn. So I think cycling it away is too cute and unnecessary. And like, there's no Skullcrack or something in the format, no Flames of the Firebrand, like a burn spell that prevents life gain. Basically, your life gain is always going to happen, and they just have to fight through it. So no Skullcrack being in the format makes these types of lines of play a lot better for you. Okay, they really decided they don't want to interact with me. So Fire Blast and like another burn spell being in hand is very likely, though they could have Fire Blasted me when their Firebrand Archer was still on the board, because the difference of 4 lands and 2 lands wasn't that big for them. So that would have gotten an extra damage in if they had just done that to get the trigger out of it, given up on their lands a little earlier. Yeah, now I feel very confident in my position in this game. Also interesting to see whether my opponent has Molten Rain in their deck or not, which is sometimes a card they bring in and sometimes they don't. It does punish these bounce lands pretty hard, but it's also very clunky and does a low amount of damage. So if your draw is made up of normal like 1 land for 1 mana lands, then it usually ends up being too slow and like buys you more time than it hurts you. That they spend 3 mana on a card that doesn't really put out too much damage. I'm far away from metal crafting, but this still looks fine. I have 1 damage prevention and then get to burn my opponent out. Though my burn spells and my Prismatic Strands is a pretty awkward interaction, because okay, they're not reacting, because it prevents damage to both players. So if they like respond with lethal burn spells to my bolts, then I still have to prevent rep damage, and then I'm negating my own bolt so that they stay alive. Okay, we win. Yeah, I really think my opponent threw that game away by not respecting the Lone Missionary on the board. We would have still been in trouble there if they had. Can this be better than any of the cards that we do have in our deck? I guess Palisandre is just super slow. I might even want like 1 more Journey, just for more damage prevention. Sure. Yeah, I mean, this deck always plays Skyfisher, so if they have even the slightest bit of familiarity with the format, they would know to expect Skyfisher. But yeah, they should have expected it for sure. Just felt like they thought their uninteractive line of play was going to get there, and That was just not the case. It's pretty medium. Like, it does have a creature curve and like a way to interact with their creature, but I would have to be bouncing lands, and I don't have any of the core cards that I'm really looking for, like damage prevention, lone missionary, prismatic strands. It's a pretty close one. In a slower matchup I would happily keep the sand, but I think I'm going to mulligan. This matchup just revolves so heavily around having your hate cards, especially with my list, which is less tuned towards speeding burn. Okay, they're mulliganing to 5, that has to be good for me. Like, the hand would have been much better if I have a bunch of Radiant Fountains in my deck, because then I can also use the bounce lands to gain 2 life over 2 turns. 1 core card in your hand, yeah. That is true, good point. I did have the core cards. Okay, the sand really comes down to finding my second land in time for this lone missionary to come down, but it looks pretty close to ideal for like a 6-card 1-lander. Can't really complain. I'm keeping their creatures off the board so I don't take too much damage, and it's difficult for them to kill me with just spells when they're on the mulligan to 5. They need some kind of recurring damage source. So I guess the Shrine would be the, or Curse. Yeah, this one's the most dangerous one. It's pretty low impact, but I can't really interact with it at the moment. I have to raise it. So that was really the card that I wanted to avoid seeing. God damn it. Well, that's pretty bad. Guess I'm likely just running out this Glinthawk and bouncing my clue. Because once I get to 2 mana, I have many things to do that are... Okay, well, good thing I did not cast my Glinthawk, because they really could have blown me out there by destroying my clue, and then I have to sacrifice the Glinthawk. That would have worked out worse for me, though this is still pretty bad. Thraben. I think I say Thraben. I'm not sure if that's correct though. Thraben? Yeah, I think Thraben is correct. But I guess it's like just a made up place in a made up world, so either could be correct depending on what Wizards decides they want to be correct. Thraben? Nah. Yeah, I've always said Thraben even since the first Innistrad block. Okay, yeah, I agree that it sounds weird. So I guess we're on the same page there. Really don't want to get Molten Drained, but doesn't feel like I have much of a choice here. Could have Lightning Bolted still. Damn, I should have Lightning Bolted. Because I'm discarding to hand size. Well, I guess this Glinthawk. Whatever. Yeah, that was loose. Yeah. Felt like it was okay to hold on to it because I want, like, if I'm not discarding to hand size, it was okay to hold on to it. Now that I am discarding to hand size, it was pretty loose. Should have just bolted their face. Just wanted to make sure I have answers for multiple creatures because I feel like my opponent needs those to beat my life gain. Okay, get this down onto the board. Can even Glinthawk this turn, but I'm setting myself back a land. Probably worth it to put aggression onto my opponent while also making sure that I don't get hit by Smash to Smithereens with this Glinthawk on the sack. So this is the most aggressive line that I can take now that my hand is running out of ways to keep me out of range. The downside is that my core Skyfisher top decks get worse because I can't bounce Lone Missionary and replay it in the same turn. If I just tap land, go as Goblin Master suggested, then I get up to 4 mana, and that makes Skyfisher a lot more convenient. But yeah, I do like my chances here quite a bit now that I get to Prismatic Strands my opponent's Rift Bolt at the very least. Yeah, I guess that works. I just wanted to go as aggressive as possible, as fast as possible, because my hand wasn't particularly good. Like, if the amount of turns that I get to live is very limited, then damn. Also, I avoided this for a while, though I never fully get out of range of their Smash to Smithereens, because with both lines of plays I end up with an artifact on the board at the end. Well, I guess I could have held my artifacts in hand for the rest of the game, but that seemed too paranoid when they only have like 2 or 3 Smash to Smithereens in their 75. And also I'm still doing very well here in the race. So they're at 6 basically, so I guess I can attack like this and then keep my Thraben back to flash back the Prismatic Strands and bolt them so I don't have to bolt on the same turn as them. Yeah, bolting them on the turn where I discarded the hand size would have worked out much better. Though the Glinthawk that I discarded wasn't really too big of an issue. I really didn't need the Glinthawk. Could have also discarded a Vial. I didn't end up needing either of them. Just too slow for the way that the game was shaping up. Yeah, that's true. Though I think that's a horrible meta call, but still I don't know for sure. There's very little affinity at the moment, so I would not make that meta call. But obviously people can make different deck choices than I think are optimal. So for prevent damage they are dead on board, and then they have to Fire Blast something. Sure. Like, it's only preventing 1 damage, but I don't see any line of play where I lose here. They can deal 8 to me with land, Lightning Bolt, Fire Blast. I mean, no, not this turn. Yeah, well, on my upkeep. They can Lightning Bolt, Fire Blast me and the curse resolves. That puts me to 3, so that's not an issue. And if they Fire Blast my creature, they die to the Lightning Bolt. So even though this is super low impact, it still ends up winning me the game. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too attached to the 2-1, but if this is sure to be lethal, then obviously I have to do it. I just wanted to make sure I don't die to something random by preventing such a low impact spell. But yeah, it looks like my opponent's just dead here deterministically. They Fire Blast my creature and then still die. I mean, assuming they have 1, and if they don't have 1, then they're just stops anyways, yes. You're attached to the 2-1, okay. Yeah, he did a good job. He deserves to live and see the victory while being on the board. MVP Lone Missionary. Winning me the matchup that I had previously thrown away by changing my deck list. Taking out all the Radiant Fountains. Yeah, there it is. And Lone Missionary gets to stay on the board. My opponent continues with their assessment of Lone Missionary being not worth killing. Yeah, we would be at 6 without him, but still, he won us game 2, so he deserves all the appreciation that we can give him.